Okay, on the last video, I might have lost my head a little bit. I'm just done. I'm just done with. I think my problem is. I think my problem is I really struggle with the mental sort of block of a game is coming, a new game is coming, and I don't want this to end in the way it's currently ending. So because I'll be honest with you, I've been ill the last week or so, so I've decided to do a little bit of FM just because there's not an awful lot else you can do when you're ill other than sit and click spacebar. And so I've been playing quite a lot, and I have, frankly, whizzed through the last season. Now, lots has happened. As you can imagine, we're about 30 games into the season. Ironically, it's going quite well, so I thought we better had document this one, considering we've documented the last two. There was clear issues with the team in the last two seasons. We didn't have the bottle to get it over the line. We finished 7th the last 2 years, which I'll talk about in a second. But then equally, I think one of the biggest problems, especially last season, was goals. We set up in a formation that was really fun to watch, but we conceded so many goals. And a lot of the blame for me went on our goalkeeper. Now, Kolawole, I never really sort of highlighted him, but once we spent £2 million on Mark Rodgers, I was really, really frustrated at, you spend the money on the keeper, you hope he can do something, and he just never looked good enough. Ironically, this season, he's done really well until January. Well, we sold him. He went to Charlton in the Premier League after having a really, really good season for us. Only 20 goals conceded in 27 appearances, 11 clean sheets and a 7.07 rating. However, I think it's not because of him. I would like to note as well, we spent £2.1 million on him and we sold him for 4.8. That is fantastic business. But Mark Rodgers is actually one of a few really, really good sales this season, including a couple that have been a little bit sad. Hakizimana has gone to Port Vale to join Harry Richardson there, actually. Not really playing an awful lot. He was a player who played so many times for the club, but look, he wanted to play football. I completely understand it. And I got to the point in the save where I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have to attempt to get into the Premier League. And it does mean leaving behind players, heroes of the save, like Hussein Hakizimana. One of the weirder transfers, we bought James Latif from Slough for a free transfer. He literally played one game for us. He looks pretty good, attribute-wise, but he doesn't really suit the system that we've got. So I sold him for £2.2 million, well, it's rising to £2.2 million to Grenoble in France. And yeah, I mean, what a great move for us and for him. And we also got a youth player in, again from Slough, Andrew Weaver, who we shipped out to Bolton for £900,000. So we made a really good amount of money in this transfer window. That means we've brought in a few new players, some of which in January, but some of which have been bedded in since the start of the year. We got Eric Gomez on a free after his loan last season. We signed Senegalese international and African Young Player of the Year, Moussa Faye, a new DM. We signed Welsh international Carl Stevens, who looks really, really talented and wants to leave because he wants to play for Wales more. And then we spent a little bit of money in January because we got so much from the Mark Rodgers sale. I thought, why not? Thomas Majazak came in from Water Poznan. Zane Flischer came in from Wolves. Trey Carty, 6'5", came in from Middlesbrough. And finally, we replaced Mark Rodgers with 6'3" Mehmet Rafferty, who's only played a couple of games for us so far, got a clean sheet in his last game. I think looks like a really, really good goalkeeper. At 25 years old, he's got the aerial reach, one-on-ones, reflexes, jumping reach, balance. He's got good positioning. Other than maybe his kicking, which I don't care about because I'm just going to ask him to throw all the time, I think he's much, much better than Mark Rodgers. And it's exciting because we only picked him up for £275,000 from West Brom. He was West Brom's number one and doing okay for them. But in the system that we've got, I think he could potentially be even better than Rodgers. So there you go. I've talked about the signings and now it's talking about the system. And it is all about the system, you know. We have 3 of them to work between. This is the system we tend to start with. 4 at the back with 2 DMs, an advanced playmaker in front of them and 2 wingers playing out there as well, with a striker going through the middle. I say a striker. It's been a while since I've not fully committed to Giuseppe, isn't it? However, this formation is to stop us conceding goals. Has it worked, I suppose? That's the next question. But before we go to that, we then have this alternative, Calibre 49, where we properly go defensive, bringing the wingers back and leaving the striker quite isolated up there. Or if we're going for a goal, we push all 3 of them up. And it's really nice, actually, to be able to rotate during a game. You know, if we go a couple of goals up, bringing the wingers back. If we need to attack, bringing the wingers up or bringing the attacking midfielder in. It's been really, really interesting to use the 3 different systems quite fluidly in the match engine. Now, goals have definitely been a bit of an issue for us this season. Giuseppe's got 12, Jordan Kiteley's got 10. I think Aidan Phillips, who we brought in last season, if you remember him, has got 6. We're not scoring loads and loads of goals. So what does that mean for the league table? Well, last season was the season that I was really disappointed with. If you see us hitting 7th outside of the playoffs for the 2nd year in a row, we finished 7th as well the season previous to that. We scored an amazing amount of goals, 110 goals. We were the 3rd top goal scorers in the league despite finishing 7th. However, that's not the column that I'm worried about. Obviously, that was good. The column I'm worried about is this one here. We conceded 95 goals, which if you look down the league table, if I move my head, if you look down the league table, there were teams that got relegated who conceded less goals. And so it was a real problem for me. I thought, you know what? And I dare I say it, you know what we need to become? A bit more boring, a bit more conservative, and we need to try and stop conceding goals. A 15 goal difference as well was well outside all of the teams in the top 6. So despite the fact we scored so many, we were really letting ourselves down. So we changed to the new setup and yes, it's going quite well. We've conceded the least amount of goals in the entire division, which is amazing. It really does back up the defensive formation. However, it hasn't stopped us scoring goals. Now, we have got 55 goals this season, which is way off Nottingham Forest, who are miles clear at the top, by the way. However, amongst everyone else, you know, it's really solid. It's around where everyone else is. So although we're not breaking records for goals scored, we are breaking records for goals conceded. Despite the more defensive-minded formation, we set up against Norwich in the first game of the season and actually beat them 4-0. It was quite the start to the season. It made me very, very excited. It wasn't a sign of things to come. As you can see, in the entirety of August, the most we scored was 1 goal. However, we were getting wins. We were winning games 1-0. We then went into September and October where once again we were winning games and we weren't conceding many goals, occasionally scoring a flurry of 4 as well. We then had a really bad November where Wigan, Nottingham Forest, Wolves and Fulham all stopped us winning, and 2 points from a possible 12 was quite detrimental to the season. However, you can see it. Let's just get on to it. There was a lot of green after that. We won the vast majority of league games in December. We had an absolutely fantastic December. We didn't really tweak much, to be honest with you. It was just a case of, I think the fixtures just didn't fall our way in November. And then in December, it went an awful lot better. We got knocked out of the FA Cup, unfortunately. But then outside of that, we've only lost 2 league games in this entire run of fixtures, which is so exciting. So as I say, what does that mean for the league season? Well, it's quite straightforward. We have got the best chance we have had so far in the Championship to get promoted. Now, does that mean we're going to get promoted this season? I genuinely don't know. Rotherham, Stockport, Everton and Eastbourne are all really fighting it out for that 2nd place position. We've literally just played Rotherham as well and beaten them by 3 goals to 0, and it was a really, really convincing win. Shutting out a team in the promotion battle to absolutely no shots on target is exactly what we're doing at the moment. And this is what I mean about not necessarily being too worried about Rodgers going, because although he got a lot of clean sheets, he didn't make an awful lot of saves. And so we have 15 games to go in this league season. Today we'll be taking on QPR in the match where I'll not edit it. I'll just talk you through how I'm feeling about FM26, how I'm feeling about this save in general. I'm going to go with the team that's been predominantly our starting 11 for this season. Obviously, Rafferty is new. This will be his 3rd appearance of his Eastbourne career. However, outside of that, Jordan Botawala has been our right back for the vast majority of this season. He's really taken the position away from Beckham Ramsey. Baran and Leo Connell have been our centre-back pairing for basically all of the season. Willian has very much become a bit part player. Only 12 games all season for him. Marquez at left wing back has taken the position of Lee Butler. Now, I do like to interchange them, but the reality is I think Marquez is just quite a bit better rounded. I think against the worst teams, Lee Butler can come on and do really, really good things. However, Marquez I like a lot. Docker and Elsom have predominantly been our two DMs this season, although Moussa Faye has had a lot of games playing 30 games, predominantly off the bench though. In front of them, Carl Stevens, I've touched on him obviously because we signed him, is really important. He's a very good set piece taker, but he's just an all-round good footballer, I think. And he's been a really, really important part of this season's team. Out on the wide right is Jordan Kiley. I love the fact that our front three are still so similar as they have been for the number of years. Jordan Kiley, Baden Horncastle and Giuseppe McGallagher. I touched upon the fact that Giuseppe is not scoring as many goals. That's not the system we're setting up. We're not setting up a system to score 4, 5, 6 goals every game anymore. And obviously that's going to hurt the striker. But when he's needed to, he has scored goals. So this isn't going to be a high-paced, heavily edited game that it usually is. This is just going to be a nice chat with hopefully a couple of goals and a win for Eastbourne Borough. I'm still not feeling 100% if I'm being completely honest with you. I've been hit with the October lurgies. Anyone else been hit with it? It's not the most fun thing in the world, is it? But yeah, so Eastbourne, like I say, we're setting up to be boring, to grind out results, and it's a weird way of playing FM. It's not really the way that I've ever played FM, to be completely honest with you, but I identified where our problem was and I took to it. And you can see, I mean, we're 22 minutes in here and there's been no shots at all. There you go, just right on cue there has been a shot for Respawn, but no chances at all here as Botawala in the 29th minute has the first chance. Docker plays it back to Jordan Kitely now. Kitely gets his own shoots. Oh, it's a good save from Keith. Every time I play QPR I always think, Alex Keith, what a great name. Golding now with another highlight here. We suddenly exploded into action, haven't we, as Golding gives it into Adawa. Ellis over to Roberts now, back to Ellis at the back for QPR, plays it all the way back to Keith, but how do they break us down? This is the question. Golding, Botawala goes out to Hansen really well there. Golding back into Hansen, who's literally off the pitch there. Adowa, he's in behind Botawala here. Hansen, it's a good save from Rafferty. That's what you love to see from your new goalkeeper, getting down and holding it well. As the minutes start ticking away here, O'Connell into Stevens. As I say, most good things come through Stevens as he brings it forward. Comes down the left-hand side now. Stevens still going here. Comes it back to Baden Horncastle. There we go. The first one's always a bit slow, isn't it? But Baden gives us a lead. It's lovely football from Stevens. I like the fact I've highlighted him and he's shown exactly what he can do. Great runner with the ball, plays the ball in, gets an assist, his 6th assist of the season I think it was, and Horncastle smashes it past Keith in the QPR goal, and we have the lead. And now QPR are up against it, because this is the most difficult thing for QPR, because ultimately we are difficult to score against. Now I guarantee they will score in this video because that's the way it is, but we are genuinely set up well in my opinion. But the key thing about this is we have to take opportunities when we get them. So we don't make many. I mean, we've had 3 shots on target in the first half. However, we've put one of them into the back of the net, which is the all-important fact. We need to ensure we have the players who are clinical in front of goal. And I think the front 3 are very, very clinical in front of goal. And I have proven that for the majority of this season as I now look. As we tick into the 60th minute, we may as well make a couple of changes here, show you a few of the players. But yes, I think it's a really, really interesting way of setting up. Do you set up defensively ever? I mean, this is ultimately a game, isn't it? And I know everyone wants to win, but at the same time, it needs to be fun. And I think my previous formation was a lot more fun. I mean, I think the last couple of videos we had like 5 alls all over the place, didn't we? There was just constant goals. But ultimately, you want success. You don't just want to win. You want long-term success. You don't want the short-term little wins. And, I mean, the squad has obviously been altered a lot this season, but with good reason. Something I've done a few times this season is I've put Giuseppe onto the right of midfield, because although I don't really see him as a winger, actually, when you look at him, because of that pace, his dribbling's not amazing, but because of that pace and that finishing and the composure on the ball, he can be quite useful out there. The only issue with this is, of course, it's only a 1-goal lead, and a 1-goal lead is very fragile in essence. And here we go. Could this fragility be shown as Steinmetz for QPR comes forward? Steinmetz now down the right-hand side. And no, it's not. Good. And that's excellent. That's exactly what you want. The most boring of games. This is perfect for content as well. I'm sure you're all really enjoying this. There's the 5 minutes to go. It ticks away. Everton have just gone 3-2 up against Barnsley, so they keep in touching distance of us, which is a shame, as the time does tick away here. And there you go. This is the new Eastbourne, and it's bizarre. We've got a clean sheet. We've won the game by 1-0, and I knew this would be boring as a video. But do you think it's interesting how we've set up? If you look at the match stats here, I'm becoming a stat guy. We've had more shots than them. We've shut them out to only 1 shot on target. The XG is really low for both teams, but as I say, clinical in that XG, which is the important thing. We've had more of the ball than them, completing about 90% of our passes. We're sprinting more. I don't know. I just feel like as a setup, it works really well. And look where the greens are. Look where the greens are. Now, I appreciate I've taken off a couple of the more creative players, but the keeper, the defenders, the wing-back, the defensive mid, they're the ones getting the green ratings now, because that's the way we're setting up. With 14 games to go, that leaves us a point into the automatic promotion places. Everton's still very much chasing us down, but with a much, much better goal difference, which I think is important. You do not see our name all over this section here, other than, ironically, clean sheets for Mark Rodgers, who's obviously now left the club anyway. Jordan Kiley's on there, 4 assists, but they're not the stats we're going for. The only stat we're going for this season is Eastbourne in the Premier League. Now, it might work, it might not work, I don't know. However, after this short video, hopefully, you'll see why I've done it. You'll see the fact it makes sense. And I feel like I've almost like deep dived into this save in 2057 and actually tried to do tactics, tried to be clever with it. It's a new white Callum, isn't it? It's all very, very strange. You will see the end of this season, come rain or shine. And my hope is you'll see the fact we're going to go up. Please, please, FM, if we don't go up, I don't know what I'll do. Goodbye.